interview with an expert or someone else, that is something that you really need to think about before you go live. And what do you want people to do after the stream? We've heard a lot today about call to actions, branding yourself, pushing people to you or your brand and not just the platform. If there is an action that you want the viewers to take, start with that at the beginning and wrap with it at the end. And it's really going to drive what happens in those streams and broadcasts that you put out there. So before you can start, there's some technical stuff involved. And the easy way to go is with native apps, Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, soon to be YouTube. They've got the easy button. It's never going to be easier than using a native app and hitting the go button. But you'll be limited in what you can do with these types of broadcasts in many cases where it's single camera point and shoot. So if you've got your phone, this is your shot. You can flip between front and rear, but that's kind of where it stops in most cases. If you want to do anything more with your broadcast, there are creator tools like Switcher, OBS, Wirecast, Be Live. There's a lot of options out there that will allow you to enhance your production, where you can bring in photos or record a video or lower thirds and start to emulate that TV style experience. Bring in a guest and do an interview. So if you want to do more than just that single camera point and shoot, there are other tools that are available to help kind of up your game. Also, something you have to think about with live video, this affects all of us, is networking. Now, one of the reasons live video has accelerated so quickly over the past few years is because of infrastructure. 4G networks, LTE have gotten much better, 5G is not that far out, and you can broadcast from just about anywhere from your cell phone. But there are limitations. If you're in a big crowd, the weather's bad, you don't have great service, those are all going to have an impact on your ability to go live. So if you're doing a production at a fixed event, if it's something where there's a time and a place where you can plan for it, you might want to take the extra effort to think about a dedicated network and setting up a home router in your house that you can connect to rather than relying on your cell connection. If you're doing video at a big venue, you may want to look at a more pro or advanced networking solution where you can have more coverage. If you're trying to cover an arena or doing an athletic event, you're going to have a lot more flexibility if the infrastructure is already in place. So 4G LTE is what most of us are using. That's one of the things that's made live videos so easy, but depending on the type of production, that's something that you might have to think about before you get started. Can you all hear me okay? Good deal. All right, man, it's been rough. So audio is also really important. If you've got a moving picture, people are going to be happy, but if you have bad video, you're going to lose them really. If you have bad audio, you're going to lose them really quickly. Most broadcasts are going to rely on the built-in microphone by default. A couple of things to keep in mind is where you place your hand. You don't want to cover the microphone. Also proximity, you're going to get as close to the person that's speaking as possible. If they're across the room, it's going to sound like they're across the room. You're going to have a lot of background noise. So getting as close as you can to the subject if you're using that built-in microphone is going to be really important. If you want to take it a step further, the headphone jack with microphones that come with your device that you use for Skype calls or FaceTime, that's a really good way to get better audio that doesn't cost you anything because it already comes with your device in a lot of cases. But you can also get adapters that allow you to connect audio mixers or traditional microphones. You can get a handheld mic, a shotgun mic, you can get a lav, depending on the type of production. There might be different needs or requirements for audio. So lavs you'll see a lot of times if it's a single host or an interview. A shotgun microphone if you're really mobile and you aren't entirely sure where you're going to be, gives you a lot of flexibility as long as you think about proximity and getting close to the people that are going to be speaking on camera. Handheld is great for a solo host or an interview where you're going to pass the mic back and forth. So another way to take your broadcast up a notch is to include graphics. If you wanted to start with an image of your storefront or your business or a logo, that's going to help establish what you're talking about. If you know who is going to be on the program, if you're planning your broadcast and it's not something that's just done in the moment, if it's not a spontaneous stream, and you know who is going to be on camera, you can prepare images or thirds to help introduce them and show them during your broadcast. A lot of live streams are really benefiting from the interaction and the comments, And it's okay to do those in real time, but having a segment within your program for Q&A or to lead with a question to kind of drive the conversation forward is a really good way to structure your content. So having a graphic to queue up the Q&A is a good way to help do that. Doing it yourself, you're holding a camera, or you're setting up on a tripod across the room, or do you have an extra hand? Is there someone that can hit the button that can queue up these assets while the talent focuses on the content of the programming that you're doing? Nothing wrong with either one, but it is something that you need to plan for and think about depending on the production. So, those are things to think about before you start. And that was a lot of things we covered. All you really need is your phone to go live. If you've got an internet connection, that's it. It's easy. But if you put in the effort ahead of time, you're going to see the benefits of it when you go live. During the broadcast, this is where the magic happens. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can approach this, but we found a series of 6 or 7 steps that if you emulate this throughout different types of content, it really helps with the flow. The first thing that you can do is to introduce the place, the venue yourself, show the audience where you are, set the scene. This is really important. You can start with the camera facing the room, or you can start with the camera facing yourself. If you're the talent, if you're the brand, you probably want to start with yourself. But if you're at a new location, it might make sense to start with where you are so the audience knows what to expect. Next, you want to tell the audience what to expect. Tell them what you're going to tell them. What we do in a lot of our broadcasts is a quick bullet point. If we're storyboarding and planning, we're going to come up with 3 or 4 topics. We're going to bullet point those. We don't have to go into a full script and write out everything that we're going to say, but we know at a high level what it is that we want to cover. For your audience that's coming in, it's really helpful to kind of set the stage and tell them what you're going to talk about in your broadcast. So leading with a quick recap or overview for what you're going to talk about is a really good way to start your broadcast. Then you get into the detail. So you take those 3 or 4 pieces and you start chipping away at them, and depending on your business, your expertise, the topic, the event, that's going to be different. That's up to you to really frame what that content is going to look like. But that's where you can expand on it. That's where you can engage with the audience, which is one of the big benefits of live. Take those questions on the fly, repeat yourself, and listen to what's happening. Because in a lot of cases, the viewers can actually drive the content. But this is where your broadcast really happens, and this is where you get into the information that you want to share. When you're thinking about those questions we talked about at the front, for what is your goal, who is your audience, this is where you tell them what you want to tell them. And once you got to the meat of your content, you want to recap that. So where we talked about repeating yourself, go back to that bullet point list. Not all viewers come in at the beginning and set through your entire broadcast. So if someone is tuned in halfway through and you can say earlier, we covered these topics, it gives them a reference point for what was covered in that stream, where they can engage in the comments, or they can go back and watch from the beginning if they think there's a value for them. After that, what we see in a lot of cases is framing an opportunity to move into a Q&A is a good way to structure comments. So obviously you're going to get questions and feedback from people during the stream. In a lot of cases, those are low quality. It's hi, hello, this is great, what's going on? But if you would take a moment within your broadcast to have a formal Q&A, rather than just leaving it open for people to ask questions about whatever, you can actually lead with a question or a topic and get information from your viewers around whatever the theme is for your broadcast. And so circling back to that after you've gone through your bullet point list is a really good way to structure broadcast. Again, not saying this is going to work for everybody or everything every time that you go live, but it's a really good framework. And the last thing is the call to action. Before you close, what do you want the viewer to do? What is the next step? Where do they go? What action are they taking? Are you sending them to your website, your social page? Do they need to sign up for a newsletter, go to your blog? Is there another event that they need to attend? Do they need to tune in to your broadcast next week? Whatever it is you want that viewer to do, end with that and tell them what to do, where to go, and end with your call to action. So, we thought we were done. The broadcast is over. There's a lot of things that happen after the stream. So we're gonna make this quick, but this is just as important as going live in the first place is what happens once you've stopped. What you wanna do is measure. When you start your broadcast, the first thing we talked about is what is your goal? What do you want to accomplish? It's not all about views every time. It's not all about shares. Did you get the information out to your audience, even if it's a small group or your community? Were you able to engage with them and get feedback about your product or your business? There's a lot of intangible values there as well, and that's something we'll probably come back to in this list, but measure what you did. Don't just go live and move on and go to the next one. Look at what you wanted to accomplish. See what you did and see what you can do going on to the next one. Also, you want to think about follow-up content. Can you take that live video and turn it into a blog post? Can you take that live video and download it and put a snippet on YouTube or Twitter? How can you repurpose this? How can you get the most miles out of it? Maybe you take a broadcast that you've done over the past month, you put together a compilation, and then you repost that somewhere else. There are a lot of ways that you can leverage your video outside of just in the moment. You also want to re-engage. This is especially important with Facebook because you're able to go in and look at comments and respond to each of those individually afterwards. Take the time to go through those and respond to your viewers. That is going to make them feel like they know you and that you're connected. And you can answer questions that you maybe didn't have an opportunity to get to during your broadcast. You're going to learn a lot by re-engaging with those. If it's not re-engaging in the comments directly through a platform like Facebook, if you're using something else, look at your audience and follow them on their network. Build your community so that if you need to change platforms later, your audience is still there. You also have the opportunity to take your broadcast and share it across other platforms. Now, this is one of the things we hear a lot is, do I need to be on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram? And do I need to stream in all these places all the time? Do I need to have 4 devices that are all doing this at once? Do I need to sign up for an account where I can simulcast? You don't have to do it all. Pick the platform that's best for you. Where is your audience already? If you've built a good Facebook following, start there. If you've built a good Instagram following, play with their live video and see how it works. But take that content and repurpose it and share it across your other channels. If you're a business, you probably have a Twitter and a Facebook. Take that content, get the link, and post it out afterwards where people can get back to where it was in the first place. And this last part is really important, is how can you improve? I wanted to use a little Mario and a big Mario, but copyright is something we got to think about, so we got the little box with the mushroom. But how can you make your next broadcast better? How can you engage with your audience ahead of time? How can you grow your audience? How can you get your message across better? Challenge yourself. Your hardest competition is going to be you, and how can you be a better you? Don't worry about what other people are doing. Look at what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish, and how you can get where you need to be. So, that's it. That's all I've got today. If you all would like to see this presentation, download it, reference it, you can go to nick.live. I'm going to be producing more content around creating live video, making better mobile video, and this is a good resource where you can get on that newsletter and get that information. You can go to nick.live, sign up for the newsletter, and get a download link for the things that we talked about today. And if you would like to play with Switcher Studio, we have some promo cards in the back that will give you full access for the first 30 days. It is a creation tool that works with Facebook, YouTube, also supports RTMP, so you can broadcast to Periscope Producer, YouTube live stream, a lot of other platforms, and allows you to make better video. So thanks for having me. If you have any questions, we can jump to that in a second, and I'll be floating around in the back of the room. So open the floor. Who wants to go first? Yes, and do we have a microphone?
I'm pretty loud.
Here we go. It's for the video.
Okay. Sweet. Hi, I'm Larry. We are the photography team here covering Summit.live. And the question I have for you is, when you live stream, you deal with the comment section. Sometimes we get a lot of haters, or people just are snarky or nasty or just negative about it. And sometimes I'm like, why are you, then unsubscribe, why are you watching, right? But at the same time, how do you, I guess, overcome these obstacles and overcome the negativity from commenters?
So some of the platforms are starting to look at trolling and people that are being snarky and mean, and they're building in moderation tools where you can monitor that in real time. I know Periscope spent a lot of time on this. Facebook also has a moderation tool, and YouTube as well. You know, it's not always going. You know, just killing the comments or hiding it doesn't solve the problem. Kill them with kindness. Respond to those comments and engage with them. And if you're building your community, a lot of times your viewers will back you up and they'll help you as well. So it's really a lot about relationships and carrying that through with everything that you do. And I think re-engaging is really the best way to fight that. You just don't want that to turn into a big nasty threat. So kill them with kindness. Anybody else? Just hit the button and go on a
He
fly.
does. He just goes, hey guys, what do we want to talk about? Let's talk about this. He talks about what he did. He talks about what he ate.
That's a fair point. So your audience can drive the content, and that's something you really need to lean into. I guess the thing that I'm really trying to frame is if you think about what you're going to do, what your goals are, you're going to get better results.
Interviewed on a podcast and then sort of posted it on my Facebook page and said, hey everybody, I was interviewed on a podcast. But then I'm like, well, what else should I really do? Because it wasn't my podcast. Like I wasn't thinking to write a blog. I don't even have a blog. Like where else should I promote that, or what would you do?
So if you have other social channels, that's a good place to start. There are other platforms that you can use that don't require a hosting account or getting started. Medium is a great way to take a story or a blog and get it out there. And you don't have to set up a WordPress install to get started. If you have something where you want to capture an email address and send something out, you could check out MailChimp. There's a lot of different tools and resources that you can use to build a funnel, to help direct people, to help give them more resources. And I think that's a really important key, is to not just focus on the content and the going live, but how can you leverage that in other ways? And that's something I'll talk more about on Nick.live if you all want to check that out. But thank you so much for having me. Again, if you have any questions, I'll be in the back of the room. And Mark, we'll let you take it away. Oh, here we go.
That was awesome.